Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hi, and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Today's topic is stop being a victim. Now, when we talk about the victim state and victim consciousness, it's important to note that this is the absolute lowest level of consciousness possible for a human being. And many people fall into the victim state. So we need to go through some steps to get ourselves back on track so we can come out of it. And first, let's define what the victim state is. Being in a victim state means that everything happens to you. And it's important to realize that you are the only one in control of your own life. No one else can tell you how your life is going to go, and no one else can recreate your future. So in victimhood, we feel very down and very negative, and we let things happen to us. They're not really happening to us, but we believe that. And when we get further and further pulled down into that victim ether, it gets more difficult to get out because we keep thinking that everything is happening and we are being controlled by these other people or events or things that are basically taking over our lives. And that is not true. So when we're talking about healing from divorce or any type of healing, really, we can't heal if we're a victim. Okay. If you are a victim, you cannot heal and you cannot ascend to a higher level of consciousness, which allows you to go ahead and create your beautiful new life. After divorce, perfect example, oftentimes what we have been told throughout our childhood, since we are old enough to understand that divorce is bad, wrong, immoral. We often hear that from family, from culture, from religion. There's a big stigma against divorce in society. And happily, that seems to be changing more recently with programs like Conscious Uncoupling, which allow couples to treat the split as a positive step in a direction that will allow them both to become their best and highest selves. And when children are in the picture, they become involved in this. And these types of movements are really, truly beautiful because they actually have less of a negative effect on the children and less of a negative impact on their lives and their future relationships and their mental health. And for the couple, for the husband and wife or wives or husbands, it allows them to feel a little bit better about the split because they're not being pulled down in this negative state. There are some steps in getting out of victimhood. So we're going to start with the first one, which is to recognize that you are in a victim state. And while you may think this sounds simple, sometimes it's not, especially when we're going through divorce, because again, it's fraught with so much negativity. So what we need to do is realize that we are being a victim. And we can do that by just kind of sitting with ourselves and thinking about our lives on a daily basis and how they're going with the divorce that's going on, or if you just came out of divorce, that's going to affect you in a certain way. But think about your life. Are you happy? Are you taking care of yourself? Exercising, eating healthy? Are you going out, getting out with friends, doing fun things? Are you maybe joining groups or going to new classes, exploring the new you and what you want in your life? So those are some of the things. Also, you want to ask if you're happy in your job or if you're looking for a job, what your motivation level is like. So if you feel like you don't have a lot of motivation, you feel like you're not getting out, you're not taking care of yourself, and you feel really sad and down, then you're most likely in a victim state. Now, a lot of times when we are in the victim state and it's really bad, we may need professional help. And this can come in the form of talk therapy or also energy workers or coaches. But if you are feeling any kind of depression or severe anxiety, then I highly recommend that you get some professional help. But if you realize that you're in a victim state, The next thing you want to do is accept the truth that it is not your fault. Marriages don't work sometimes. Sometimes we grow in different directions, and marriages are very difficult. And if they can't be fixed and divorce is the decision, then you have to stop blaming yourself. You have to realize you're not at fault. By doing so, and by realizing that you're the only one who can choose to get out of this state, you will be able to create your new life and move forward. And number 3 is making the decision to get out of the victim state, right? So once you consciously make this decision, I do not want to be a victim anymore, then there are some things you're going to have to do. And it's a lot of work. I'm not going to kid you, but you're going to have to do some work to get out of the victim phase. The first thing is to stop blaming others, like the former spouse, because no matter what, a marriage takes 2 people. And even if one person did something very wrong or bad in the eyes of the other person, usually there's some kind of contribution from that person as well. And I'm not talking about in marriages that have physical or emotional abuse, although abuse victims often stay with their partners because they are afraid of leaving and what might happen to them if they do that. And that is a situation where professional help is necessary, in my opinion. If you are going through a divorce, you need to stop blaming the other person, because only until you accept what is as reality, will you be able to heal. If you keep blaming, my former spouse was a jerk. She treated me horribly and threatened me all the time with divorce if I didn't do X, Y, and Z, and manipulated me, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Those things are in the past. So right now you need to work on forgiving that person, forgiving yourself, and stop the blaming, because those are the ways that you're going to climb out of this victim hole. Okay. Accepting all those things for what they are. They can't be changed. The past can't be changed. The only thing you have control of right now is moving forward. And so you want to eliminate all of these negative aspects like blame and not accepting and focusing on the past and what happened and being angry so that you can move forward, so that you can stop being a victim. Next is the fun part, and that is figuring out who you are in your new life and what you want your new life to look like. And to do this, we need to start making some decisions about where we're going to live, where we're going to work. We need to really manifest this new life in our heads and envision what we want to be doing, what we want to be experiencing, who we are, what do we like, what do we do when we have free time in this new life. And we want to start really visualizing those things, even all the way down to what you're wearing and where you'll be and what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're cooking, where you're exercising, what kind of classes you might be taking, new classes that are fun and exciting, or new projects you might be doing. So, and if you're in a job, what might you be working on in your new life? And if you aren't happy in the job and you want to switch, what kind of job might you be looking for? And these are all things that a coach can help you with if you need extra help. But it really is a process that needs to be done in the right manner so that you can really see that new life. Because when we see what we want and we envision it and we can actually manifest it, we can actually bring those things to existence, because we are so in tune with ourselves and so sure of who we are and what we want that we can make it happen. So we want to plan our new life, figure out who we are, who the new me is. And when we do all these things, we're going to be able to climb out of the victim state and feel a lot happier. So step by step, we need to start working on that. And it's okay to take baby steps. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen right away. It took me personally quite a while to work on all these little things and figure out who I was now moving forward as my own person without the marriage, without my partner, and what I wanted in my life.
And I got to a point where I was so sure of myself and so excited about myself and who I was becoming that it was easy for me to go from there. Once I got to that point, it was easy for me to start making the changes towards getting those things that I wanted, because I had worked so hard and in finding out who I was. And so it's definitely possible, even with divorce, and keeping in mind that you may need guidance, help, and that's okay as well. Something else I want to talk about when it comes to being in the victim state, being a victim, is the fact that oftentimes divorce may happen suddenly. And while usually, and studies say that most marriages, when they file for divorce, one or both of the parties have been considering it for 6 years. Sometimes at least one of the parties may be blindsided. I've coached people who have said, my spouse came home and said she wanted a divorce. It was over. And I was just shocked. No idea what was happening. And so that does happen sometimes. And when that is the case, the person who is surprised obviously may not have had a lot of time to spend doing these things, working on themselves, figuring out their new life. And they may even already be a victim just in general. Like, there are people who are just always victims. I mean, you may have a friend, I've had several, who every time you talk to them, there's a major problem going on. Now, I'm not talking about little things like, hey, I had a really bad day today. Someone calls you and wants to chat with you about it and tell you about it because they love you and they want your advice and they value your opinion. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who every time you talk to them, it's almost like seeing a movie. The house had a flood, and then my car got stolen, and then my spouse wanted to told me that he wanted to divorce me, and my animals got sick, and my children had a incident at school, and it's always something pretty big every single time. And we have to realize that when someone else is in a victim state, especially when we're healing, that brings our consciousness level down. It's very difficult to be able to be around people who are victims or very negative and not have it affect you at all. When you do encounter somebody like this in your life, these are the people that you may need to consider letting go. And that's another podcast if you want to learn how to do that and embark on that. And again, I mean, that is a part of getting out of the victim state sometimes, is letting go of people, definitely letting go of preconceived notions and ideas and patterns of behavior when it comes to divorce. I would encourage you to take a look at the people in your lives, take a look at, the things you have been taught by family, culture, religion, society. Take a look at what you are letting into your conscious realm, meaning, are you in a workspace where you are constantly surrounded by many people and there are lots of people who are negative? Are you watching a lot of mainstream media and news especially and hearing a lot of negative stories? Are you coming home and just sitting on the couch and watching movies all night and eating popcorn and not getting out and getting fresh air, grabbing McDonald's or a hamburger for dinner instead of cooking yourself a nice healthy meal full of fresh organic vegetables? So there are lots of different things that you need to evaluate, but you can do this and figure out what little changes you need to make to get out of the victim state. So even if you are going through a sudden divorce that comes on quickly, you still have time. You don't need to worry, because the healing journey is a process. And even if you have the time to start healing before you even file for divorce or tell your spouse, I want a divorce, you still have time after you do that. And the sooner you start, the sooner you're going to have a happy life and create a life that you love. And I promise that you can do that because you are strong. You are resilient. You are whatever you believe yourself to be. And no, I don't know you, but I do know that once you change your mindset and once you start believing yourself to be the things that you want to be, that you envision for yourself, that you can do anything. And I have proof of that throughout my whole life. So don't tell me you can't do it. You might need some help. And if you do, I encourage you to get some so that you can move forward, because the result is phenomenal. It's amazing. And you can live a wonderful, beautiful, happy new life. Thanks for joining me today.